Hi guys, Ronnie here and welcome to the workshop. Today I'm going to talk about the changes I've done to my open up winter road / all-road / gravel bike. So if you remember my first video, this bike has originally been built up with Race Di2, also in this 2x setup, but as I said in another video, I needed that group set for a customer for a Tarmac SL7 build. So this is what I was stuck with basically, because I've also sold the Super Record EPS group set for another build for a customer, and I decided to give this combination a go. Now I was also considering e-car, as I said before, but I used that for yet another build, and I really wanted to stick with the double for this setup, since, well, in particularly because I have no other road going bicycle at the moment apart from my time trial bike, but that's only kept for nice days with dry roads, unlike this one. So let's start with the group set itself. Campagnolo is not that popular of a brand anymore in terms of group sets. I was ignoring it myself for a number of years now, and only this year I started flirting with the idea of getting it and selling them through the store, because, well, the rest of the manufacturers and their availabilities and delivery times are pretty crap. So first I tried Super Record EPS, which I first hated when I had to install it, and then I loved it when I had to use it. Now the mechanical setups are less involved, but can still be a bit tricky, but on a bike without an integrated front end, not really an issue, with the reversed brake hose mounting. So yeah, much less swearing involved in this build. Anyway, let's have a look at the individual components from the start. So the brake levers are actually slightly bit smaller than those on the EPS version, which I find surprising, because normally with other brands it's the other way around, because you need more space for the mechanical parts. Nevertheless, these ones are very nice and comfortable indeed. The diameter here is definitely smaller than you have on EPS, and it's more in line with Shimano, for example, but the hood is actually still nice and tall and ergonomically shaped, so you have this handhold position and it's very stable and comfortable. Same soft rubber hood here, carbon blades for the brake lever and the upshift paddle as well, on both sides of course, this being the Super Record version. Actually, another thing that I like about Campy group sets, particularly these higher end ones, is the quality of the finish. It's just beautiful componentry, something that wouldn't go too out of shape or out of line in a jeweler store. So really, I love that aspect of it. The downshift paddle is shaped quite a bit differently than the electronic version. There is just a little spoon-like shape. Here you have more of a, I don't really know what to call this shape, but it's slightly bigger. Although I would really love to have the C-shaped paddle that you have with e-car to have a better purchase from the drops. And it's perfectly symmetrical on the left-hand side, so nothing out of ordinary there. One thing that's pretty annoying with these levers is the fact that they're pretty hard to tape around, so you have no spots showing, like here for example. I did this in a bit of a rush. Also, this bar tape is pretty old and has been removed a couple of times, so next time I will take a bit more care. But yeah, levers, ergonomical perfection, I would say. And yeah, you just have that very beautiful campy brake force and modulation that you don't get with other group sets. The rotors are shared between all the disc brake groups, as I said. Same for the calipers. These are from the E-car group set. One modification that I had to do is to bend the spring between the pads a little bit, so you have a stronger return. This makes the caliper more open, you have more clearance for the rotor so it doesn't rub. So need to upgrade there, otherwise it's perfect. I stuck to my Quark crankset here. As I said earlier, it doesn't have any protective boots, so it's just showing the rock strikes, unfortunately. But you get that with the gravel bike, I guess. Also, the cranks themselves are easy to replace and not very expensive, so I'm not too worried about that. The front mech actually is pretty light and very sleek. It has this classic lever, so it's not operated in a sideways kind of a way that the newer Shimano ones do, and they're designed that way to increase tire clearance. However, the reason I could fit this double on the bike and I couldn't do it with the EPS is because of the aforementioned tire clearance. So this is a 36 road tire basically, and there's plenty of clearance still. I think I could get away with a 40 gravel tire that I've been planning to use. So hopefully that goes well. I've also installed the chain catcher that I just had from previous builds. It's a must-have for me, just for that extra peace of mind. You can see it right there. Yeah, pedals still speed play paves with titanium axle, so that's unchanged. 160 front rotor, 140 in the back. Unfortunately, you can't install 140 on the open fork in any way imaginable, so yeah, I would have preferred that, but maybe off-road it will be okay with the 160. Campy definitely has enough brake power to handle the 140 though on the road. Yeah, so chainrings also stuck with 52-36. Maybe I will experiment with some other ones, because I find this gap of 14, or sorry, not, it's actually 16 teeth even in a subcompact design. That's pretty disturbing. I'm used to 13 or 14 tooth jumps with the standard crankset. However, if I use a standard 53-39, then I might getting that's too tall. But I was thinking about using that with a bigger cassette, because the super record cassettes go up to 1134. So yeah, I have yet to experiment with that, but so far I'm not too bothered actually. Or maybe just a bigger inner chainring or a smaller outer one, I will see about that. So the rear mech actually is a bit of a mid-cage design, because I said it takes an 1134 and the cage itself is pretty long. It's all carbon, of course, full carbon construction with titanium hardware, beautifully finished. So yeah, really neat and lovely piece. They also have their so-called Maxim Smoothness cable system, which has really extremely low friction, and the cables and the cable set itself also is pretty damn expensive, so I hope it will last a good while. Perhaps a winter bike is not the best place to use mechanical gears because of the issue of contamination, but we'll see. The cassette is the same that I had before, so 1129 super record. Might go for something bigger for gravel, but so far it's been working neat. You get nice small steps because of the 12 speeds and relatively narrow range, so I'm happy with that. Now the big question is it a big setback to go from electronic gears to mechanical? I've been using electronic gearing for years. Basically I just had one single bike with mechanical, and that was Force 1, and to be honest I didn't like it that much, because The first one, all the SRAM brakes were pretty crap. You had a wooden feel and no bite, so didn't really like those. And the double tap shifting is, particularly when you're off-road, it can be a bit confusing. This one though, you get nice big levers separated. Also, I would say probably better than Shimano, because there you have to move the whole front lever for the upshift, and yeah, ergonomically I think if you're talking mechanical, this is probably superior. So that's one thing. For racing, I would definitely not want mechanical, I would say, because you have to worry about hitting the lever with the constant force. You do it slightly too weak and it will not engage. Same for the front. You have to worry about front trims. So if you're in a big, you can get some rub, etc. if you don't trim. So with electronic, you just press the buttons and you go. You don't have to think about anything. The motors are strong nowadays for the front shifting and the rear. It will just handle it. Mechanical requires a bit more finesse, particularly with the double setup. So if you're an experienced rider, that's not going to be an issue, of course. But nowadays, when you have so much easier options, I wouldn't recommend this for a beginner. That's why I went with e-car for my girlfriend's bike, but it's another story. So yeah, not for racing, competitive use, but this is not a bike that I have for competitive use. This I only have for winter training and fun rides and my enjoyment. And I think in this spirit, it's where high-end mechanical shifting, particularly Campagnolo, really fits. Because firstly, it's kind of a boutique brand, not something you see very often. Certainly not in these latest versions and the highest end. So that's kind of nice. It has a bit of an exclusivity factor. So yeah, I find that appealing. And secondly, if you have nicely set up, nicely functioning, beautifully designed mechanical shifting, it just has its own charm. Particularly, as I said, with this one, because I'm going to repeat that double tap. For me, it was not very practical. Shimano doesn't have those nice, satisfying mechanical clicks, but for me, there's just something in this, feeling this mechanical clicks and the feedback, and it's a bit more of an occasion, bit more of a feeling to just, well, the simple act of changing the gears, same like driving a manual car, which is getting rarer nowadays. So yeah, this is where I think mechanical gearing of this kind has its place. And that's exactly why I chose it and why I went with it in the end, because I could have just ordered another EPS version. Oh, no, joking, actually not, because it will only come in May, but you get the point. So yeah, this is how my bike is set up so far. I really like the way it turned out, and I hope you like this video too, and you have found these insights to be somewhat entertaining or useful. If you want to know more about the equipment that I use for my training and racing, and also the stuff that I work on for my customers, then don't forget to tune into the channel later on and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.